Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shay Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start off every podcast with a motivational quote, and today's quote is, "Nurturing relationships to build lasting partnerships." Today, we have Lea Ann Stephenson, who is a realtor in the Lincoln area. Lea Ann has found her passion in real estate, which allows her flexibility to travel and do humanitarian work, which is also something she loves to do. This includes traveling to Tanzania, which is in East Africa, which was always a lifelong goal of hers. Lea Ann has experience in real estate, development, property management, and construction. She is a mother of 7 children and ages 21 to 32, along with 5 grandbabies. So welcome to the podcast, Lea Ann, and thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your real estate journey and what got you to where you're at today.
So my real estate journey started very early. I purchased my first home when I was 19, fresh out of high school, had that as a rental property, oddly enough, for a long time because I moved for a job and then that continued. I went to work full time in the construction industry as my children were just starting into elementary school. So then, in all of my years that my kids were in school, I was working full time in the construction industry, owning my own business as a remodel contractor and a tile setter. So my husband and I both ran that business at that time. And all the years that my children were in school and growing up. And so that began the process. That was also when I started doing development and other things. So real estate has always been a passion of mine, finding a house, a property, a piece of land, and visualizing what can be done there or how it can be the best place for someone to live has always been part of my journey.
So tell me, how did you, because obviously the construction world is a very male dominant industry. So kind of talk me through all of that. How did you how did you get started and how did you keep it going while maintaining the 4 kids that you had at home at the time?
How I got started, let's see. My husband at the time was a business owner. He had his own construction business, tile business. So after we met and I just came alongside him to help run and navigate, having that business, it was in the early 2000s. So the economy was a little kind of dicey then, if you will, for being a small business owner. And his business was transitioning from doing a lot of commercial construction to doing residential construction. As that went from the early 2000s into the mid 2000s, that landscape really changed a lot due to changes in the mortgage rates and the way that things happened, kind of the crash, if you will, of the housing market that most of us would reference, if you know a lot about real estate, that's pretty fresh in some people's mind that are 50 plus. That happened. And sometimes even today, when they see rates going up, they reference that time saying that's going to happen again, or that's one of their fears, that's going to happen again. So getting into, it was almost out of necessity in the beginning, but then it just continued, as you said. Being a woman in the construction industry is almost non-existent, and especially doing custom tile and stonework, which is what our business was. I know even today of only just a few women in that industry. So there were often times that I was the only woman on a job site, or people gave me sideways glances when I said I was a tile setter.
Yeah. So how did you handle that? I mean, did you get, I feel like you're probably a pretty dominant person and a dominant personality. So did you ever have like pushback from either clients or subcontractors? And how did you handle that?
Lots of pushback from contractors more than clients necessarily. Mostly clients are appreciative of women who are skilled laborers. I mean, being in construction is a skilled labor job, doing something that requires artistry and experience like tile setting or stonework. Again, another level. Many contractors would appreciate that. And that's really part of what I did, is just embrace the people that appreciated the fact that I was good at my job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the challenge. The people that are, I mean, you're always going to have haters. Doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So just embracing and knowing your value is, I guess, the best way to do that for me.
I love that. I love that. And is there anything that stands out in your mind where you basically had to stand up for yourself and be like, hey, listen, one, respect. Like you may not like me, you may not like that I'm in this industry, but I do, I don't want to say demand respect, but I do expect respect if I'm giving it to you. Does anything stand out to you specifically that has happened?
I worked as a project manager for a time for some different
Oh.
businesses, not only my own. And so sometimes I would have to have those conversations with subcontractors that I was
Mhm.
hiring to do work. So typically, what I learned is just getting rid of the elephant in the room, starting that conversation with, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a woman. You may not like the fact that I'm going to be telling you what to do, but here we are.
Yeah.
So this is the
No,
job. If
that's
you
fantastic.
you can do it. And I have experience, or obviously I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't have the experience needed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your experience. That's why I have you here interviewing and why I'm asking you to do this job. And I hope that we can work together. So
Yeah.
just meeting it head on.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's great advice for anybody who's listening in any realm of reality and just calling out, whether you're the woman or whatever the case may be, but just calling out the elephant in the room. Because if you try to tiptoe around what you know everybody is thinking, it just gets awkward. And I think if you can just go at it head on and just be very direct and blunt and just call it out like it is, it like, I don't know, the tension gets released. Everybody relaxes a lot more, or people can be transparent and they'll come out and say what they're thinking, which, okay, great. Let's get that out. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what the problem is. And then you could get to the core of it all and be able to move forward and do the best job that you could do.
I think it gives permission for people to discuss it, and it makes them realize that you don't feel awkward about it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't care. I mean, you realize that they see you as an enigma or someone that maybe shouldn't be in the position you're in. So it gives them it gives them permission to just be clear and transparent about the way that they feel and what they're thinking.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So through all of this, your kids are in elementary school, maybe into junior high. How did that look with the family life? Because I know a lot of people have a hard time. I don't want to say balancing work life, but more, I don't know, like kind of incorporating it. Like how do you feel that you handled that portion of your life? Could it have been handled better? Because I know people will have some regrets and whatnot, but how did that look for you? And then if you could, what would you have changed or done differently?
Sure. For me, it taught me to become I guess, master time blocker or planner, just creating different segments of my day that I could devote to a specific task. Like, okay, this time is for the kids, this time is for work, this time is for taking care of the house, if you will, and just learning to transition from one of those things to the other and just, trying to be present when I put that spot in my calendar was dedicated to that specific thing.
Hmm. Did
So
that take
I think
time? Oh, go
learning,
ahead.
it took a long time to learn. And
Yeah.
I'm still not proficient, of course.
Yeah.
But I think just realizing and again, giving yourself permission to be, okay, this 1 hour, I'm going to dedicate my time wholeheartedly to planning my day or marketing my business or reaching out to a past client. you know, it lets me focus better. It lets me just get in the right headspace to do those things.
Do you find it's easier to dedicate time to your business and solely focus on that versus like when you're home with the family that sometimes like you're there physically, but your mind might be somewhere else? And I find that interesting that at work, I can get very focused. I can get really focused in on what I'm doing. Now, I definitely still need to get better at time blocking and not trying to do 100 things at once. I think that's just kind of as a woman, that's what happens. But I also find myself when I'm home with the kids or I have that dedicated time, my mind is still somewhere else. So my biggest thing is trying to, like you said, be present in the moment. Has there been anything that has really helped you to really be present, even if it is just for that 1 hour with your kids? Your kids don't always need, it's not about the quantity of time, but the quality of time that they want and need. So is there anything that, I don't know, that you've maybe been able to do, or are you pretty good at switching it on and off?
I mean, I try to be good at switching it on and off. I think everybody could always improve on that. I guess
Hmm.
the one thing, there has been moments or things that I have experienced in life where they have reminded me that we don't know how much time we have. One of my friends had an aneurysm and died. Okay. He was very young, a fellow contractor. So he kissed his wife and hugged his kids and went to work and was standing and talking to the receptionist at the business that he was working at. And he was gone the next minute. I mean, mid conversation. And so that's one of the things that helps me remember, hey, be here, be in that moment because you don't know. So,
I
yeah,
think that really has affected you. Was that here recently or when did that happen?
no, it was, sorry, really long time ago. But yeah, it is, I mean, it changes your perspective when you think about that. So, sorry.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I think we all need to kind of express that because we do go through those hard times and you never know what can happen in a blink of an eye, losing your family, losing a loved one, and you really realize what's truly important in this world. And that's why I wanted to start all of this is so moms out there can relate to other mompreneurs and still understand that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to go through hard times and you're going to lose sleep and you're going to do all of that. And that's what entrepreneurship is, or that's what mompreneurship is. But we also need to learn to take a step back and like you said, just be present. Like kiss your loved ones, like tell them every morning that you love them. And I don't, it's just, I'm very sorry to hear that. Were you there when it happened?
No, I was at work. We were working in the construction industry. Like I said, it was in the early 2000s that it happened, grinding it out. Both of our families were in a similar position, young kids, all of those sorts of things. And yeah, it just, you never know.
No,
So
no. And things can happen so quick. And I also think that's why it's so important that people take care of themselves and their health first. As a mom and a mompreneur, we get very caught up in the business life, the personal life, and we fail to take care of ourselves. And Jim Rohn has always said, work harder on yourself than you do at your job. And it's an amazing quote because I have my morning routine that I do every single day. I mean, I'm sure I mess up at times, but I'm getting up, I'm working out, I'm meditating or reading and writing down my affirmations and my goals and all of those things. But I realize that so many people don't put that effort back into themselves because and maybe that gentleman, sometimes people just have bad genetics and stuff, but taking care of yourself is the most important thing. Your mental health, your physical health, all of that is the most important thing because without your mental health and your physical health, you can't be there for your kids or your grandkids or your loved ones, or your employees, co-agents.
absolutely. Or anyone that's around you, honestly, your clients, anyone. You
Yeah.
can't do that. It is super important. And I guess being a mom and being in this industry and other industries for so long, that is one of the things that I have learned and I try to always pass along to others is you have to block out that time for yourself just as important as it is to blocking out, doing marketing or doing other things and for your kids, you have to block out that time because you only get moments for them to be the age that they are today. You turn around and you have grandkids, that's it's an amazing adventure, like I said, experience, but it is short. It's
Yeah. It's very short, and you don't realize how short it is. Like we were laying in bed reading a book to our kids. We got three little kids, and I was laying there holding on to my son's hand, laying on my younger daughter's lap, and then hanging on to my older daughter's hand as my husband was reading. And it's just trying to like be present in that moment and just really soak up little moments, those little moments like that. And you just blink and they're just getting older, and I'm sure you see the same thing with grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, I got a text message from my almost 6-year-old grandson saying hi and sending me a picture from his little smartwatch.
Yeah.
Awesome thing, but I mean, he's 6.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing to have them and realize that just a minute ago, just yesterday, he was a brand new baby and I was just became a grandma.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So when you do real estate, do you ever have to bring your grandkids with you, or did you ever have to bring your kids with you to work?
Yes, of course. My kids often grew up on the job site or in the back of a new construction house, sitting there doing their homework as we were installing tile in a parade home that we're the last ones in as tile setters, and this parade home goes on parade next week, and the tile has to be done because everybody else behind us was late. And so now it's the crunch time, and for one year, one of my daughters actually was homeschooled. So she was on the job site every day with us. My older son, he did construction for a time as he became an adult because it really is just part of their DNA growing up that way and being on the job site. And they feel it's important and they're very driven in their careers now as adults because of that. So I think it benefited them in a lot of ways, but sometimes was so difficult to have them at the job site.
Yeah.
Yes. And my grandkids have accompanied me on open houses or showings or, as they come to visit this last weekend, my granddaughter says, "Hey, we need to go to your office," because she sees it as a fun experience because I've tried to make it that way for her, that she
Mhm.
gets to go visit all of the ladies who work in my office and do paperwork. And one of them had a fish on her desk and a frog in the fish tank. So, my granddaughter's like, "I need to go see the frog." So
Yeah. And I think that's what people need to understand, that it's okay if you need to bring your kids. I mean, I know some people think that it's maybe not professional, but I've never seen it as unprofessional. I see it as, hey, you know what? I got to do what I'm going to do. I've taken my kids to listing appointments. I've taken my kids to a ton of showings, open houses. I've had to go into like professional meetings when I had a really little baby because I had no other option. It's either I'm going to be there or I'm not. So you guys choose. I'm like, oh, it's okay. And I always try to prepare people. Like if I do have to bring my kids, like I'm letting my clients know. Or if I'm going into a meeting, I try to let people know out of respect, but I've never had any pushback. And I think if you set those expectations, but I don't know. I mean, like as a mom, we just kind of have to do what we need to do. And it's not unprofessional. And honestly, your kids end up learning so much more. My kids sit very well. Like I remember I had to go into a meeting. I had two of my kids and it was an hour and a half long. I thought it was only be like a half hour. It was an hour and a half long. My kids don't get technology, so they literally sat there and did nothing. I did give them a piece of paper to draw on, but they sat there for an hour and a half and everybody's like, holy moly, like your kids do so well. It's because that's just how they've been raised since they were pretty little, and especially my youngest. And they know, and now behind scenes, it's not that you know, they got two different personalities. They know when to behave and when they can relax and be kids. So,
I
but
think that's the important part, just being as transparent as possible, letting your kids have those times that they don't have to behave, if you will,
yeah.
but also having the conversation, the understanding, like often in my career in real estate and construction, I would be on the phone. My kids know if I'm on the phone, it's silent, right? And as they were growing up, they knew if I was answering the phone, it should be silent. And they knew that was the expectation. It may be absolute chaos at the minute that I say goodbye, but
Yeah. Right? That's right. Or yeah, or sometimes I feel like as soon as I get on the phone, that's when my kids are just screaming and I'm like, "What just happened?"
yes,
Like we have been silent for 15 minutes and now all of a sudden you want to talk and scream?
yes.
I'm like, oh, okay, let's try that again. I think it's just part of being a mom and being a mompreneur and an entrepreneur that you're gonna have flops, you're gonna fall on your face, you're gonna do all of those things. But we just got to we got to keep getting up, keep going, keep moving forward, and you just kind of fumble through the life of being an entrepreneur.
And I think if you are not, you don't feel bad about it, you're not apologetic for life. I mean, happening, kids making noise. People know that kids make noise. People know that kids don't always behave. One time, one of my best stories that I always try to remind new moms is I was walking in the grocery store and walked by a mom who had her little girl dressed in the beautiful little perfect dress, and her hair was done, and she just looked like a little model that you see in a magazine. And the mom put some frozen vegetables in the cart, and the little girl picked it up and said, "Mom, we don't eat this." Bleep. And the mom was just mortified. And I just laughed so hard because, that's just real. That's just the kid, like, just saying, "Hey, I don't like this. I don't want this." But the mom was just so shocked. And it was just the best thing because kids are unapologetic. They don't have a filter. And I think oftentimes we just try to filter ourselves way too much.
Mhm.
And we just need to just embrace the chaos almost of being
Yeah.
mom.
Agreed, agreed. And then the confidence that kids have, I swear, especially the younger kids. And it's
Yeah.
kind of sad because you can see as people get older, their confidence is not quite as strong. Like from my 9-year old to my 4-year old, my 4-year old, her confidence, holy moly, holy,
Right.
like it is top notch. She has got confidence of steel. Whereas my 9-year old, you can tell that not quite as confident. She is still pretty confident, but you can tell as they get older, that changes a little bit. But so I admire kids who are so confident. And I'm like, gosh, if every adult had the confidence of a 4-year old, oh my gosh, we
Mhm.
would dominate this world. If every woman,
Yeah. And as now being a grandma and working with a lot of older individuals than myself, it's flipped. So I like to say that as you get older and you're an older mom and you're an older woman, that you lose more of your filter every year. So you go back or you regress to that confidence of a 4-year-old
Yeah.
because you no longer really care what people think of
Mhm.
you or what your position is, or because you know your worth and your experience. So I think we just need more of that.
Yeah. I always tell people now your problem with me is not my problem. As long as I wasn't malicious or trying to sabotage you or intentionally trying to take you down, my problem with you or your problem with me is not my problem. And I think we all kind of need to go into that sort of mentality that you can't worry about what other people think of you or what they say of you because that's on them. That it 99% of the time it has nothing to do with you, that it's something with them, that whether it's their confidence, their self-esteem, or they have something going on in their own life. Like I tell my daughter all the time, like if there's a kid being mean at school, I'm like, well, honestly, like just try to be nice to them. Like maybe ask them to play. And if they're still mean, then just walk away because there's usually more that's going on generally at home. And then they take it out on other kids. And so I said, you just have to kind of have some grace and sympathy for them. I mean, don't go up to them and be like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. No, just understand that there's probably more going on at home or in their personal life than what we can see.
Everybody needs more grace and love. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're a kid or you're a mom or you're a real estate agent, everybody needs it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. Are you also a property manager then?
I am.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. How
Yeah.
awful. No, I'm kidding.
So,
How's that?
yeah. It's great. To me, being a property manager helps in multiple ways. Number one, it helps me always have a reliable, steady base income per month that I can pretty much count on. It frees me up to do the ups and downs, the roller coaster of real estate buying and selling, and not having maybe not having a transaction every single month, and that's okay. The other part about property management is it helps people transition and it helps me educate them from being a renter to being a homeowner. Some of those people maybe didn't have that education as a younger person of how to build their credit, how to take care of things, how to actually build wealth by owning real estate. So I think that's equally as important to continue to give that to people.
Yeah. So do you do property management for other people or do you do it for your own or do you have your own properties?
So I used to have a bunch of my own properties. As we had our construction company, we had about 15 properties that we owned. And as that business changed, I got a divorce, all of those things that transitioned to me managing for other people. And that I manage for other people now. And I am effectively in charge of that department for our brokerage at this moment. I take care of training other agents how to do property management for our brokerage and just organizing and making sure we're on top of things because the property management world changes even faster than the real estate industry or the real estate buying and selling part of the world. Tenant advocacy groups, are changing legislation and laws all the time, and landlords as a whole, lots of challenges in our industry today.
Mm-hmm.
So taxes going up, other costs of insurance going up, and just owning a home and trying to maintain it in the best way possible for somebody else, it's difficult. So I think it's important to be educated and being a property manager in multiple ways to help. I mean, people need a place to live, and some of them might not be able to afford to buy a home right now,
Yeah.
but they might in 5 years.
Yeah. I feel like the property management world can be like being a mom in all reality because you have the tenants who are kind of like your kids. You're trying to take care of them, educate them. You want to show them respect so they give you respect, not only to you personally, but also to the property as well. And then you also have the landlords that you want to keep happy. You want to keep them informed. You want to keep them up to date. So it'd definitely be a very big tug and pull because we have our own properties and I kind of manage our own, but it's a little bit different when it's your own versus somebody else. But I have found that like you kind of nurture your tenants the way you would kind of nurture your kids. You know, you want to respect them because I found that when you give them respect, they will give you respect and they give your facility or your properties respect. And that alone can save you tons of money.
Absolutely. And managing for others, that's one of the, I guess, biggest challenges for me is finding those people that I really want to partnership that really want to have their properties like that. They
Yeah.
want to maintain and keep their properties up and establish that sort of relationship with their tenants
Yeah.
to where the tenants feel like they can take ownership in the property and actually have a home that they can enjoy, even though they don't own it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess is how I have approached property management, having my own previously and now managing for others. Yeah, definitely. And when I have agents ask me if they want, or some have expressed interest in becoming a property manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I will ask them if they're okay with their day starting out with cleaning up something that they don't want to clean up, like many moms do, to, having an appointment with a prospective tenant, to transitioning to making sure a maintenance request is taken care of. Can they manage switching from those multiple things without going crazy in their day? So it definitely does take someone who can switch from one thing to the other, or it helps with that process for me of just having that experience over the years, but
Yeah.
continuing that now.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I absolutely agree. So looking ahead, what are some goals and aspirations for your career as a real estate agent?
in the last few years, I have become a real estate educator. So I actually teach continued education classes. Um,
Oh,
Last year, I partnered up with my broker to create a class that is a mix of all things real estate, if you will. It was a class about safety and DEI and risk management and all of the things that we need to do as an agent. I think as a woman agent, but more specifically, anybody needs them. I mean, men do as well. This industry, sometimes people forget that our industry is one where we can be targeted, and some statistic out there one time that I read says that our career is akin to being a police officer. And that's sometimes shocking to other agents to know. So I guess my goal for my career is just to continue to educate and pass along the experience that I've gained through the years in real estate and construction and being a mom, because I think it's important.
yeah. Yeah. And safety is key. I think it is interesting, but I can see that it would be very close or similar to kind of being a cop because you're going into sometimes vacant homes with people you don't know. And you get so caught up, especially as a new agent, like somebody calls you, wants to go look at a house, you run over there really quick without even thinking about it. Like somebody else might be like, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard somebody do. But when you're starting out, you're kind of desperate. You're gonna do what you gotta do.
Even if you're not desperate, when
Yeah.
you're busy and you've been in the business a long time and you've got multiple things going on, you have
Hmm.
someone that calls you on your listing. Sometimes you might drop everything to go and show them. I mean,
Hmm.
really.
Yeah, and I think women, or I do especially, is I have a little bit of I have an intuition. So if there's something that just is not sitting right for a specific client, go with that feeling. Definitely go with it, and it's not worth that commission that may potentially transpire in anything. But yeah, we do get caught up in all of that. I'm guilty to this day about it. But if you get that intuition that, hey, something just doesn't feel right or it doesn't sound right, just make sure that one, you let people know where you're going, or two, don't go, or take somebody with you. You know, I had
I
a,
think it goes to establishing what's your best practice, what's your normal, how you do it if you're not rushed. And then that being the thing that you do every single time. It's sort of like exercising or learning a new skill. It's just practicing over and over that you do something a specific way each time. it's like learning a new script. So you have a client call you, you do X, Y, and Z. And doing that every single time, no matter how busy, how stressed, if you're at a kid's baseball game or basketball game or ballet practice, you still do that same thing every single time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me, number one, be safe in what I do, but also do that time blocking and make those things happen in a consistent way over the years to allow for all that life brings. So,
yeah, consistency is key. Those small little intervals over time compound into the bigger results, you know? So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lea Ann, for being here. Last question for you. If you could give your newer or yourself one piece of advice from starting way back when, what is something that you would recommend? Or for anybody new who's getting into this business, who's a mom, what is one piece of advice that you'd give them?
saying no.
Because when you say no to, or when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Right. Because saying no, I mean, as a mom, we often say yes to every request that comes to us from our children, from our spouses, from our clients. We're quick to say, yep, I can handle that. Yep, I'll take care of that. Yep, no problem. At our own expense or the expense of our children, our family, or something else. So learning to be okay, saying, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. I would love to take care of you tomorrow or next week or whenever it would fit in your schedule, and just giving yourself permission to not be responding immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree with you on that one. Well, thank you, Lea Ann, for being here. If anybody, are you looking for new clients for landlords and property management?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
are.
Always.
So are you subject to one, like, are you a company? Is it just you? Are you willing to work with anybody and everybody that aligns with your vision and vice versa?
So my brokerage is under the umbrella of Home Services of America, owned by Warren Buffett. Okay. I'm Home Services of Nebraska, and I am at Home Real Estate here in Lincoln. And so, yeah, I'm open to working with any individual owners. Typically, who I work with are individual owners, investors, mom and pop landlords, and obviously, I still do real estate every single day, buy and sell with individual people as well. I love to do remodel projects because I still have my own remodeling company. And so I will do projects for people as well, and project manage their project when they're getting ready to sell their home. So,
My goodness, you're just a jack of all trades, huh? You just do it all.
hey, I think property management and real estate and construction kind of all go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah, very easily. You could just stay busy doing your own things constantly. Absolutely. No, that's amazing. That is amazing. Do you want to provide your phone number at all if anybody had any questions or wanted to get a hold of you?
Yep, my phone number is 402-506-3875.
Awesome. Call or text. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lea Ann, and welcome to the Real Moms podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please, please, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shay J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.